I don't really work with the 20 and 30 and 40-year-old clients. I typically work in what I call the decumulation phase. So to answer your question more precisely, there's really two different types of financial advisors. One that will help you accumulate that money when you're in your 20s through your 50s and 60s. But I specialize in the preservation and the decumulation phase.
Got it.
And honestly, you may have a financial advisor that's done a really, really good job of helping you grow that wealth to put you at the doorstep of retirement, but they really don't understand that preservation piece and decumulation. They still have that mindset of grow, 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 grow. And when you get to retirement, it's honestly different. And so not only do financial advisors struggle with that, there's a lot of clients that struggle with the shift of the mindset of, hey, I'm not saving anymore. Making 10% a year is not that important. It's more about preserving and making this stuff last forever.
Break down that word that you said, decumulation.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that. What is that? What does that mean?
All right. So obviously, people will start saving sometimes in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and by the time they get to, say 65 years old, it's probably the most common age of retirement, mainly because of Medicare. So now they've accumulated sometimes, millions of dollars. The decumulation is how much money am I able to pull out of my portfolio to buy food, to pay the bills, to do things fun around the house? How long is this going to last? So it's more about preserving it and then decumulating the slow down spin down process to make sure that you don't run out of money. And obviously, there's a lot of people that want to leave a legacy. They want to be able to pass down wealth to children, grandchildren, and sometimes great grandchildren.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So so basically we have traditional advisors which start working with people like in their 20s when you start, making money, you're starting your career.
Yep.
So this is could be even like you like $50 a week or two, very minimal, but working with someone like that, and that's kind of like the bigger brand names that we hear, like the Raymond James, the Pinnacles,
Mhm.
those different what is the popular one? I was gonna say Morgan Stanley, but what is it? Oh geez. I know it's basically they're just helping you invest your money. So
Mhm.
are they making a commission off of your investments? Is that how they get compensated, the traditional route of working with a financial advisor?
Yeah. So
Charles
that's a good.
Schwab, that's what I was thinking of.
So
Sorry.
I'm gonna go just unveil all the dirty little secrets
Please
about,
help us, Chris. We're really trying to
all these
figure this
financial
out.
advisors out there.
Yeah.
The most common way that a financial advisor gets compensated, Carolyn, is through what we call a fee-based relationship. That is really the new way that financial advisors get paid. And the way that that works is they just charge a simple percentage. So let's just do some easy math. Let's say you gave $100,000 to a financial advisor, and the financial advisor was going to charge you 1%. So that's 1% a year or $1,000. And the way that it works is, at least with us, is whatever your account balance is at the end of the month, we take 1/12 of 1%. So 12, meaning 12 months in the year. So we take 1/12 of 1% out of your account the very next month. That's the most common way that financial advisors get compensated today. I will tell you, there's still some old school financial advisors that sell investments for a commission. And I would highly warn people not to get involved in doing that. That is where you could give a financial advisor $100,000, and sometimes they will scrape up to 5% right off the top for a upfront commission. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're only left with $95,000 after they scrape off their commission. We don't do that here at the Legacy Retirement Group. I don't see it that often, much of anymore, but they're out there. Matter of fact, I ran into a guy at a birthday party over the weekend, and he has an American Funds financial advisor, which is a good investment company. But anytime that he gives his financial advisor money, he scrapes dollars right off the top for his compensation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then sometimes you question, is it really a good investment or are you getting a big commission on this sale, right? I mean, I guess that's kind of
Well,
depends on the professional, right?
yeah, and so there's some things that I would always recommend to someone that would be entertaining a relationship with an advisor. We can go through them all, or we can kind of pepper them in throughout this Zoom call. But the one thing that I would recognize right now is actually really two things right off the bat. You want to work with an independent advisor.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, someone that's not working for a corporate America type of company like a Raymond James, Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley. Now, those are all good companies. They do a good job for their clients, but just understand you're only going to be given their options, period. And
Mm-hmm.
their options aren't bad. Just understand that they're not able to go out on the open market like we are here at the Legacy Retirement Group and really just build you a portfolio of all the Pro Bowl players, that the A players of the investment world. The second thing is fiduciary. So a fiduciary, we kind of see this on TV a lot now. You know, fiduciary is someone that's legally bound to give you best interest advice, regardless of what it does for the financial advisor. I would recommend that you hire a independent financial advisor that is a fiduciary.
Is a fiduciary. Okay.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense and it helps, I think, everybody to really, because you meet so many people in the space and you don't know the difference between the different professionals. And
Yeah.
so there's basically, it kind of boils down, if I got this right, traditional investing, which is basically traditionally fee-based, or a percentage up to 1% of, the annual investment. And that basically comes right off the top of your investment. So traditionally, you're not like paying your advisor out of your pocket, right? It's
Right.
they're getting paid off of the investment. But then there is more along the lines of what you do, which is wealth preservation and, oh my God, please let me say this word right,
Decumulation.
decumulation.
Yeah.
And so decumulation and wealth preservation, that is, how does that part work? So maybe people, I'm thinking, could start with a traditional financial advisor, right? To even get wealth, right? To even get to the point where you say, okay, how do I, make this last? How do I create a legacy? Where do you start working with people? When does your relationship, as far as like a wealth, would you consider yourself a wealth advisor? Is that,
Yep.
that's okay. So
Yep.
you
So
have financial advisor, wealth advisor. Can you break down kind of the terminology for the people that don't understand the different?
sure.
Okay.
So I am a licensed, financial advisor. I'm a fiduciary. I have my Series 6, my 65, and my 215 insurance license. But really, and on my website, on my business card, I refer to myself as being a retirement planner.
Retirement planner. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Um, Now going back to, the Raymond James and Edward Jones, those are good companies. And honestly, I refer sometimes them business. Every once in a while, one of my clients will want to refer me their son or their daughter that's 25 or 30 years old and they have literally $50 a month to want to do something with. And it's a great compliment, but that's not necessarily my avatar client. And I will actually refer them to one of these Raymond James, Edward Jones, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch type of advisors to kind of get them going.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, with the internet and computers these days, it's so easy for a lot of people that are that age to do it themselves. It
Mm.
really, really is. There's so many great content on YouTube about how to go to Vanguard and, open up an account and literally just start dumping, money, into that. But more of, and so what your question is, who do I find, helping the most, right, Carolyn?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I'll give you 3 or 4 existing people that I'm helping, like literally right now, if it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's real life example. That would help.
About 8 years ago, one of my clients passed away, and he had a son and a daughter. And his life insurance and all of his savings went 50-50 to the son and daughter. Unfortunately, the son which was 41 years old up to a couple weeks ago, passed away.
Hmm.
His beneficiary was his sister. She's about 45 years old. She's going to inherit from her dad and then brother about $500,000. So you would think a 45-year-old is not someone that Chris would typically work with, but in this case, she's going to be receiving $500,000 from her brother and already has $500,000 from her dad from 8 years ago. She's 45 years old, has got $1 million due in inheritance. That's someone that I want to have a relationship with.
Mhm.
So
Because now basically this 45-year-old is now is in this wealth, right? Her inheritance, $600,000, right? What do you do with it, right? If people don't hook up with someone like yourself, they could what? End up just squandering it, right?
here's the thing, and I want to get too deep on this Zoom call, but Dad had an IRA. He passed away prior to 2019, which was pre-Secure Act, and I won't get into all that, but it's the different rules on requiring you to take out money from an inheritance IRA from your mom and dad. And then their grandmother passed away just a couple years ago after 2019 of the Secure Act. And so that IRA has got a completely different set of rules. And then she has her brother's IRA. And so basically what I'm trying to paint here is she didn't feel comfortable just walking into her local Wells Fargo or ViStar or Bank of America and dealing with a banker because they don't really understand all the details about these inherited IRAs from dad, grandma, and her brother. And they have all their different set of rules based on when those people passed away.
Wow, that's really deep because so like in probate real estate, there's a deed, right? And when someone passes away, that deed gets transferred from the deceased name into the beneficiary's names. When
Yep.
you're talking about IRAs and you're talking about, investment accounts, what does that transfer look like from it's just based on if you have been listed as a beneficiary, then does it just transfers into that person's name, but all the rules and everything that was put in play, just that you've now inherited that.
Yeah. So
Wow.
again, it really depends on when the person passed away. Now we're talking about qualified money that's never been taxed, like IRAs, 401k, SEP simples. Even Roth accounts have these same rules. And I noticed that Peter's on this phone call. He deals a lot with taxes, and so I'm sure that he's got a lot of stories about some nightmares where people were not taking money out of these accounts properly, and the penalties levied by the IRS when they found out that they weren't taking the money out according to the law. So Carolyn, that's one example of someone that I'm working with. Another person that I'm working with is someone that's on the doorstep of retirement. They're about 2 to 3 years away from retiring. He's about 62 years old. He has $800,000 in his 401k. He doesn't have a financial advisor. He's historically done this whole thing himself, done a good job. He saved all of his money with his company's 401k. But because this person is older than 59 and a half, there's a privilege that allows him to reach into his 401k and roll it over to an IRA. There's no taxes, there's no penalties, and then we can do some amazing different things out here on the open market that he does not have access to inside of his company 401k. Now, some people think, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to close my 401k. It does not close. The 401k just gets drained down to a zero balance. The next time you get paid, out of your paycheck will come the first deposit, and this person is going to build that thing back up. And when he retires, we'll just sweep it again. But now we're able to do some things with that money, again, that he's not able to do with his Merrill Lynch 401k. Another family that I'm working with is already been retired. They've been retired for 4 or 5 years. And Carolyn, they have a financial advisor. What they don't have is a retirement planner.
Mm.
So they came to one of my retirement classes, down in Sawgrass a couple weeks ago, and I did a presentation mainly based on the difference between a financial advisor and a retirement planner. And the wife looked over to the husband and said, you know, we've been with so-and-so for the past 15 years. Not one time ever has he talked about any of this stuff that Chris is talking about. And we've only known Chris for 30 minutes. And so
Wow.
what they're doing is they're now elevating up their relationship. That financial advisor has done nothing wrong. They just know they are deserving and wanting something more out of a relationship other than just investing all of their money in the stock market.
Okay, let me ask you this. Would it be fair to say that a traditional financial advisor, because we're talking about you being a retirement planner, a traditional advisor is not doing the wealth preservation conversation. They're not talking about the decumulation of the assets of the finances. They're not doing like end of life planning and care. Is that safe to say, or?
Yeah, let me take this one step further. I
Okay.
think this would be appropriate where we do that screen share that we talked about.
Perfect. Yeah, go for it.
Can
Yeah.
everyone see that?
Yep.
Okay. If everyone can see this document that I brought up, when I created the Legacy Retirement Group, having done this for so long and worked with pre-retirees and retirees, these were the 6 things that I identified in my years of people really, really struggling with doing them themselves, or if they had a financial advisor, unfortunately, the financial advisor wasn't really helping them in all of these really, really important areas. So I think we would all agree when we think of a financial advisor, there's one thing on here that's called investments. They do a really, really good job with Carolyn handling someone's investments, growing their money. But when you get to retirement, unless you have a pension and Social Security and 5 rental properties, you may have to dip into that savings on a monthly basis and pull some money out just to pay the bills with, right? That requires an income plan. So my professional designation, RICP, Retirement Income Certified Planner, this is where I'm able to construct someone's income plan, making sure that they have enough money coming in that, Carolyn, that's going to last the rest of their lives. Now, we do investments here. We do a really good job with investments. But one thing that other financial advisors are not discussing is this thing right here on the bottom right, which is taxes.
That's surprising.
Well,
You
they
can't
don't
get away
they don't
from
know much about it.
it. Right.
I feel that they're scared about it. And honestly, here's another dirty little secret. Financial advisors, they don't get paid to do tax planning. They get paid to invest your money. So no one pays me directly to put together a tax plan. Now, I'm not a CPA, I'm not an accountant, I'm not filing tax returns. So let's make that very clear. But what I am doing is I'm offering tax planning to my families through Roth conversions, basically paying taxes now while they're very, very low, and then may end up being low for maybe a little bit longer than what we had anticipated just a couple of years ago. Another thing that we offer here that a traditional financial advisor does not is healthcare. So if you're retiring pre-65 and you don't have access to health insurance through your former employer, guess what? We do that here. We do the Affordable Health Care Act.
Mm.
When someone turns 65 years old, what happens? They qualify for Medicare. We enroll people into Medicare. So just think about that. You call up your Merrill Lynch stockbroker, Carolyn, and you say, hey, I just turned 65. I'm coming down to your office. I'll be there in about 20 minutes, and I want you to sign me up for Medicare. What do you think they would say?
Not gonna happen here.
We don't do that here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're a financial advisor. Above that over here is insurance. There's a couple of things with insurance that typical financial advisors don't do. That's long-term care. So long-term care is a insurance policy that will pay for a nurse to come into your home and give you care if you need it. It's also an insurance that would pay for you to go to an assisted or a long-term care nursing facility. We do that here as well. We also do a lot of life insurance.
Let me ask you this, Chris, as when you're talking about the healthcare and the insurance, are you saying that you're physically a broker for those things as well, or you're partnering with other professionals that offer those services?
I'm doing it myself.
Got it. Okay.
So when I first got into this business, the first license that I got was my 215 insurance license. And I held on to that license for 6 years before I decided to go out and get something additional. So when it comes to health insurance and life insurance and long-term care, I literally enthralled myself into that license and every single possible thing that I could do with that license for the first 6 years of my career. So there's a lot of amazing things that you can do with life insurance. There's a lot of really cool products that are available now that weren't available, 5, 10, 15 years ago. But no, I'm not farming that out to anyone. When someone hires me, they want me to handle as much of all this stuff that's up here on our screen under one roof.
Yeah, that's a huge value. Huge. Yeah. Is this
Um,
common in the marketplace, or are you kind of a unicorn?
it's it's
Well,
not common. It's
it's
really
not.
not common.
Okay. Okay. And that's why I understand more where you're saying retirement planner, because it's really a much bigger scope, right?
Yeah.
I think when we think about a financial advisor, just what comes to mind is someone to grow your wealth, which is
Yeah.
what we've identified, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what traditionally, that's typically where the buck stops.
Yeah.
But then what you're saying is that working with someone like yourself, you can look at the big picture, because like the customer that you have right now, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I get, okay, if I have all this money, but how am I actually putting it to play? Getting that, I've heard in being a part of this group, long-term insurance, long-term health insurance, long-term care insurance. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like a game changer.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, your out of pocket is insane.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you about the last thing at the top left there. I'm not an attorney. I don't pretend to be one on TV either. I have, a
Kind of
handful.
look like one, just so
No.
you know.
Um, I have some trusted partners that I rescind, all the estate planning, to.
Mhm.
But obviously the name of my company is called the Legacy Retirement Group. So, there's a lot of people that I work with that have saved a lot of money. And honestly, there's no way in hell, Carolyn, that they're going to spend all this money. So rather than just sit there and have no leverage, there's a lot of times where we can come up with a plan in order to, 2 and 3x that money to the next generation. So, quick little story. I'm working with one of my families. Her name is Cheryl. She's
Hmm.
got about $2 million in an IRA. Cheryl lives on her Social Security only. She doesn't touch this IRA at all, never will, until she's required to start taking money out by the IRS, which I won't get into all that. What we constructed was a life insurance policy where Carolyn is going to pull out $100,000 from her IRA and she's going to deposit it into this life insurance policy for 5 years, not forever, just for 5 years. And it's producing nearly $1 million in life insurance,
Wow,
tax free.
that's incredible.
So that wealth is not only going to go to her children and grandchildren, but like I was telling Cheryl, this money is going to positively affect probably your great grandchildren, someone that you we will never have the opportunity to meet, and you're going to be able to positively affect them.
Wow. And that's what, is the interesting part is, how all of this ties together.
Yeah,
Because, and I commend you for, putting this all together and really taking like a very holistic approach,
right.
you're considering the healthcare, you're considering the insurance, and then you're considering the legacy and the estate planning. You really can't have one without the other if you want a complete plan. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, if you work with someone and you just get your estate planning in line of where you want your assets to go, but then, like we discussed in this group, it's the aging process and the senior care process We're all here planning, we're alive and well, we're pursuing our businesses, our goals are to, become as successful as possible. Then what happens, when you're not working anymore and you have a life situation and things like that? And just having purely the money, like you said, is not a complete plan.
Yeah. Going back to that story about Cheryl real quick, I was really, really concerned for her because she's about 70 years old. She lives around this neighborhood and she's a widower.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got a lot of money, but in the event that she's not able to care for herself, how long is that money going to last? And so I've been talking to her about, hey, we really need to figure out this whole long-term care thing. I know you want to stay in your home. Most people do. But if you end up going to an assisted living facility, that could be, $11,000 to $12,000 a month, depending on your level of care.
Mm-hmm.
So the cool thing about this life insurance policy that I did for her, it actually has, Carolyn, long-term care benefits built into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like two birds with one stone. I hope she doesn't need it for long-term care, but she's got it. But we know one thing, she's going to pass away. We all will one day.
Mm-hmm.
And now her family is going to benefit from $1 million of tax-free money.
Mm-hmm. If you would, everyone wants to take a picture of that screen. If you want to unshare your screen, if you could maybe just give us like, a basic, if you were to give somebody like Chris's best recipe for retirement planning, okay? Make up the person, whatever, whatever. You've told us some real life scenarios, but let's just do like a very basic, what would you be your prescription for creating that retirement plan for somebody? As far as what we just discussed here, these different assets of the healthcare, the life insurance, and then the estate planning. What are just like some of the basics that need to be in those components for a successful transfer of wealth and retirement?
That's a good question. During our retirement classes, I will close out a session by using an analogy on a way to build a house. So, Carolyn, if you and I were going to build a house together, the land is already nice and clear. What are one of the first things that we're going to do in preparation to build a house? We're probably going to pour a really nice, thick, what?
Foundation.
Foundation. All right. And so when we go to build a retirement plan, we start with the foundation, just like we would building a house. And the foundation is comprised of your income. So in preparation for retirement, you're going to need to know what are going to be your sources of income. Well, the most common source of income, everyone should have it, is Social Security, right? Unfortunately, Social Security may not be able to help you maintain your lifestyle. Some people have pensions. Not everyone has a pension these days, right?
Yeah, I think that's the good old America.
That's right. And then some people will have real estate. They'll have passive income from real estate. Well, guess what? Not everyone has 2 or 3 rental properties for that passive income. But what people will have is a really big 401k. And so we'll have to use some, hopefully not all, we'll have to use some of that 401k to build this income plan.
Okay.
And what we do, believe it or not, is as elementary as it sounds, Carolyn, we want to create the same exact of income that are going to be equal to or just a little bit more than your monthly expenses.
Currently, whatever a person's currently at.
Well, it really depends, so I'll ask a question to a soon to be new retiree, which is when you go to retire, are you looking to maintain your current lifestyle? Or are you wanting your income to drop dramatically and you just sit at home and watch TV all day long for the next 25 years? What do you want to do? Do you want to glide into retirement and maintain your lifestyle? Or are you looking to just take a huge step back? And so what the people that I work with here at the Legacy
About
Retirement
the
Group,
other people,
huh?
aren't there some people that want to go party and have fun in retirement?
100%.
What about
So
those people?
it's not uncommon for someone to say, Chris, not only do I want to maintain my current lifestyle, I've been working for the past 40 years for this moment. I'm ready to go party.
That's what I'm saying, man.
That's right. I'm ready to do the cruise. I'm ready to do, this Napa trip. I'm looking to travel abroad. I'm looking to do this home improvement, this outdoor kitchen that we've always wanted to have. I'm ready to spend some money. And you know what? I give that permission slip to a lot of people because there are three distinct phases of retirement. When you are newly retired, you got your health and you'll have your wealth. Those are the go-go years. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage people to go and enjoy the first 10 years of your retirement because
Like that
you,
go-go years.
huh?
I like that. Go-go years, like woohoo.
Yep. Then
Yeah.
you'll go to the slow go.
Slow go.
Slow go is where you've already done all the cruises. You've done the Napa Valley trip. You know, you've played all the golf courses, whatever and honestly, you have some aches and pains. You got plenty of money still. You're just not, you don't find yourself motivated to go. So you're starting to slow down, right?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And it's honestly mainly because of health.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the unfortunate last phase that's not sexy at all. It's called the no-go years.
Okay.
That's where people still have the wealth. Matter of fact, they may have more wealth than ever before because they're not spending it like they were in the go-go years. But they have people like my mom and dad that are in their, late 70s and early 80s. They have some money. They just don't have their health. It sucks to sit there and watch because they worked their whole life. They got money and they don't use it. It's
Mm.
kind of sometimes depressing.
So you're saying they have the wealth, they have the health, but they're not doing anything with it.
No, my parents have the money. They just don't have their health.
They don't have their health. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yep. 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 Without your health, I mean, what do we have, right?
That's right.
Yep. Very, very good. I love how you broke that down. It makes it so simple. So the foundation of financial planning is your income. It's
Yep.
coming up with an income plan that is comprised of Social Security, pension, real estate, 401k, and
Yep.
then you're basically, three phases of the go-go year, the slow go, and then the no-go. I love
Yep.
that, Chris. Wow, that's very, very easy to understand. So what comes after the income?
All right. So once we got ourselves a nice thick foundation. So Carolyn, I'm not going to pour you a little skinny foundation. You probably want yourself a nice 8-inch thick foundation, right?
Yep.
Once we get that nice thick foundation, we're going to build the walls.
Okay.
We only put enough money in the walls, Carolyn, that we know for a fact that we're going to want and need for the first 10 years of someone's retirement. So think about this, Carolyn. You just retired yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things that you might want to do in the first 10 years of your retirement?
Vacation,
Travel.
travel. Yep. Maybe get that vacation property I always wanted in
Good.
Tahiti.
Okay.
What else do I
Um,
want to do? Is that pretty good?
so travel's always the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Home improvements.
Home
They may
improvement.
they may want to go buy a toy.
What about that midlife crisis convertible?
That's the toy. That's the red Corvette convertible toy,
Okay. This is the
right?
go-go years. Mm-hmm.
Spoil the grandkids.
Spoil them, rotten. Mm.
Yeah. So, we only put enough money that we know pretty much for certain that we're going to want and need for the next 10 years. So now we got the foundation, we got the walls, then we
When you
build.
say building the walls though, where's the walls? Like what are the walls? What is that plan?
That's typically going to be money that's very liquid. We
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be able to get to it anytime that we want without penalties, but it's not going to be invested really aggressively, just
Mm-hmm.
because I know we're going to need it within a shorter amount of time. So we don't really take on a whole bunch of risk with that money. So
Got it.
it's typically invested
Setting
pretty
that
moderately.
aside. Setting that aside a little bit. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Then we have the roof.
Okay.
The roof is money that we don't really plan on needing for 10 to 15 years plus. And honestly, if you remember that story about Cheryl, there might be some money in the roof that you may never spend. So there's some cool things that we can do with roof money. One of them is legacy. It's the whole story about Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's some things that's not so fun. Carolyn, do you think inflation might happen in a retirement?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Um, we would have to take some money out of someone's roof and bring it down to their foundation. So imagine this. You come into my office and we'll meet just like we always do, one time per year. One of the very first questions out of my mouth is, Carolyn, tell me about your cash flow. The money coming in versus the money going out. How's that looking and feeling and tasting? Well, Chris, this inflation is no freaking joke. I'm actually running out of money by the 28th of each month. So this is what we can do, Carolyn. I plan for this in your retirement. We're going to grab some money that we purposely put in the roof, and I'm going to send your bank account an extra $500 a month. Do you think that would get you back whole to where you're not running out of money by the 28th of each month?
Where is this roof money at? Where is this at?
And that is typically in more safer products that have a little bit more of a time commitment.
Okay. So, okay. So we
And
have,
so there's, and so one other thing that's not all that fun to talk about
mm-hmm,
is healthcare.
mm-hmm.
So we will purposely put money in a roof for healthcare
So we have legacy in the roof. We've got healthcare in the roof,
and inflation.
inflation in the roof.
Yep. And so once we get the foundation, the walls, and the roof, I want to make sure that if this whole house catches on fire, Carolyn, I have built you an emergency exit. So I'm
Okay.
sure you have a plan. If you woke up in the middle of the night and the fire alarms were going off and you smell smoke, I would like to think you know exactly how to get out of your house the fastest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do I. So in a retirement plan, we will build you an emergency exit. Make sure that you have one at least. So an emergency exit is money that we always recommend that you have down at your bank or maybe your local credit union. It's
Mm-hmm.
not in stocks and bonds. It's not in annuities. It's not in CDs. It's literally going to be in a savings or a money market type of environment. It's not going to make a whole bunch of money. It's not there to make a whole bunch of money. It's there that if you have an emergency,
Get you out of Dodge.
right, a tree falls on your house, you got someone out there with a chainsaw willing to cut it off for $1,000. Go down to your bank, withdraw the money, get the tree off your house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it.
So that's how we can, that's how we do it at the Legacy Retirement Group. It's literally
Love
like
it,
building a
Chris.
house.
You made it so simple, and I like that it's about real estate because I can really understand it.
Yep.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful. I would like to open it up for questions. I know that this has been a lot. This is something that whoever's on the call today, like, what are some things that maybe Chris said today that would trigger in your minds something that you're dealing with one of your customers, or something that you see happening, like the story that you told Chris about the sister that her brother just passed away. I'm very familiar with that scenario. You know, those are the type of conversations that I have regularly. And, you know, prior to our group and prior to all of this, I just stay in my lane. You know, I'm just helping them get the real estate from, you know, their deceased hands over to their hands or over to a new buyer, right? And they sell the asset. But what's really happening in the process of that is they're also inheriting, you know, this wealth, and what are they doing with it, right? What is, you know, when we get an inheritance, you know, it's an inheritance, right or wrong, should it not just continue growing through generation and generation and providing a way for families to build those legacies, right? I mean, it has to start with someone. And for me, you know, just doing my thing, I'm just looking, okay, let me sell your house, let me do this, let me do that. But I think really opening up that conversation with my customers and saying, you know, have you had a consultation, you know, to discuss what you're going to do with this inheritance, right? At this stage, for me, I'm not even touching it with a 10-foot pole, you know. What are maybe like some questions, maybe using me as an example would be very easy right now, but for everybody else on the call, like, what are some ways that us as, you know, death care professionals that are working in this space day in and day out, how can we start that conversation with our customers, potentially get them connected with you. Where do you see that cross collaboration like happening with our group?
You want me to tackle that one?
I do.
All right. So I would like to leave this with the group before we end today's call. As we all continue to look and listen and try to help everyone out on this call, if you were to ask a neighbor, a coworker, a friend, whoever, do you have a financial advisor? If they say yes, I don't want you to immediately just shut down the conversation because believe it or not, the person that I find myself helping the most, guys, is someone that already has an existing relationship with a financial advisor, but they really don't know what they don't know because they've had this one relationship with this one person for so long, and there's so much more that this probably financial advisor has never really shared with them. That's the difference between a financial advisor and a retirement planner. So as we kind of go out, after today's call, and as you engage with, those people, ask them, do you have a financial advisor? Yes, perfect. I would like to introduce you to Chris at the Legacy Retirement Group. He's a retirement planner, and yeah, he'll invest your money, but there's so many other things that I learned about him and his business that he helps his families with that traditional people do not.
Okay, let me just ask this. I don't know if anyone else is thinking this. Can you work with a financial advisor and you at the same time?
Me?
Yeah. Can I have my own financial advisor with, Raymond James? I have a financial advisor. I've been with me since I was 20,
Yeah.
right? Can I say, wow, I've never heard about retirement planning, legacy planning. Yes, I would like to meet with Chris. Can I work with Raymond James and Chris at the same time? Is that legal?
Is it legal? Absolutely. Does it happen all the time? Absolutely. Am I interested in those type of relationships? Not at all.
You're not interested. If
Mm-mm.
somebody's working with a financial advisor, you would look to bringing that business over to your group.
Yeah, and I don't mean that in a bragatory
No,
or a
no,
cocky
no,
way.
that's it's just a valid, question,
No,
right? Just
yeah,
how does it
and it
work?
happens all the time. And so this is the one question. So that has occasionally happened, Carolyn, where someone says, "Hey, I want to try you out, Chris. I'm going to give you $20,000 of my 2 million and see what you can do with it." I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to politely say thanks, but no thanks. I think you should stay with your current advisor. And
Right.
then honestly, some people said, hey, I want to give you half the money and then keep the other half with my advisor. And
Mm-hmm.
this would be my one question that I've always asked, these type of folks in the situation. Is there anything that your current financial advisor has access to or is doing for you or can do for you that I cannot?
Mm-hmm.
And what I have found is the answer is no. It's actually just the opposite. There's so many things that I do and can do and will do that their current financial advisor isn't.
Right.
So they kind of have an aha moment, like why would I want to keep this old relationship that's somewhat stale? And
Mm-hmm.
Chris can do the same exact thing underneath one roof. So
Right.
I just don't like a
Right.
whole bunch of hands in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
The client is always going to be in the middle. I'm always going to be picking apart what they're doing over there. They're probably going to pick apart what I'm trying to do over here. They're stuck in the middle. It's just toxic, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Say no to toxic relationships. I love it,
Exactly.
Chris. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and unpin our screens. Who has a question?
I have a question, Jason.
Let's go, Jason. This is so cool
How you
seeing
doing, Chris?
Hey
different
man, doing good, man.
environment.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey,
Question. I know you mentioned the right off the top, the other financial advisors take up, let's say 5% off
yep,
top, right? Is that yearly or is that just that one-time fee? And
it's
then
a
every
one-time
time
fee.
you one-time fee. So with your company, it's yearly is 1%.
Yeah,
And then with the other financial advisors, 5% off the top, that one time. And then now if I bring in more money, they'll take another 5% off.
yeah. So that's a good question, man. Let me respond to that real quick. If you're interviewing financial advisors, you need to ask them, what licenses do you hold?
Okay.
If they say, I only have my Series 6, the only way that for them to invest your money is through this commission-based relationship, which is
What's it
where
called
they
again?
a commission-based relationship. And they will only have their Series 6 license. Now, the more money that you deposit, that percentage will go down. It starts right at about 5%, and every dollar that you add, it will get scraped off the top by that 5%. I offer not only, so the most of the investing that I do is through a fee-based relationship where we're not charging upfront commissions. We're just charging a percentage of the assets over time. So again, as you're interviewing these advisors, what you want to hear them say is, I have my Series 65. I'm a fiduciary. That means that they are allowed to charge you a fee rather than scraping commissions right off the top. So you want to work with someone that is Series 65.
Versus 6 series.
Series 6, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And honestly, I gave up my Series 6 license probably about 6 or 7 years ago. Just because that's so old school. There's not really many financial advisors out there doing it that way. Why? Who would want to see 5% of your initial investment scraped right off the top when you don't have to? So why would you do that if there's another way? So this fee-based relationship is the most popular.
Then
Hey,
how you
Chris.
diversify the majority of
sorry.
the, sorry,
Go
you
ahead.
diversify the portfolio is based on what? On stocks, or what do you do? Mutual
It
funds or?
would be mutual funds.
Mutual funds. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now
Sorry.
that's for that commission-based person. But for me, in that fee-based relationship, I can do stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. I can pretty much do anything.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it, Chris.
You got it. Thanks.
Was there
You're
another
welcome, sir.
question there?
Yes, yes. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Elizabeth Brandenburg.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'm with Hardage Giddens. I'm a family service advisor here.
Yes.
I wanted to ask if a family is already with an advisor, their investor,
Yep.
how difficult is it to switch to you? What's that process?
That's a good question. And honestly, it happens all the time here at our office, thankfully. Just because most commonly someone will have a trusted investor or advisor relationship already. So most commonly people will have an IRA or maybe a brokerage account with an existing relationship. It's very, very easy. What I would do is I would open up either a Charles Schwab or Fidelity IRA and brokerage account. It doesn't cost any money. And what we do is through my back office, and it's all done electronically, we would send a request to the home office that holds the money. So let's just pick on like Merrill Lynch, right? So let's say that you had a family that had a trusted advisor with Merrill Lynch, and they had an IRA with Merrill Lynch, and they were looking to part ways in that relationship. They get to pick either Fidelity or Charles Schwab. It doesn't matter to me, completely up to them. But we would open up an IRA and we would send a request to the back office or home office of Merrill Lynch for a request to liquidate the account and all the assets be transferred over. There's no fees, there's no commissions, there's no penalties. A lot of times the current advisor doesn't even know it even happened unless there's some type of trigger they have kind of linked up that the account just got closed. I don't like doing it that way. I'm very, transparent. I always tell my new families, please call your current advisor. Please tell them, what you've already done and you wish them the very best. But sometimes people are like, no, it's okay. I'm not even going to call them at all. It's up to them. So, but it's they don't have to call and do anything themselves in order to part ways with that relationship.
Okay. I'm asking for information possibly to share, but also personally, I went with a guy that was a very good friend of my late husband's. And now he's no longer with that company. So
Yeah.
there, I've got some investments there, but
Mhm.
there isn't that trusted advisor that I know there. He's with another company and he's calling me, wanting me to go ahead and switch and go with him wherever he is.
Yeah.
Um, Honestly, it went down the first couple years, then it went up a little bit, and we're at a little bit more of an upswing now. Um, but it wasn't anything major. Um, no, it major increase.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but I don't know if where I'm supposed to be is I obviously the company is in St. Louis, so but it is with a Schwab,
Yeah.
so uh, that seems to be a good company, and that's Carolyn, the one you were trying to think of earlier, and I was like Schwab.
That was exactly
Yeah.
the one. Let me
Yeah.
ask you something, Elizabeth, to go off of that question. Had any of your advisors that you were working with ever speak to you about some of the stuff Chris talked about today, as far as, planning of aging and also the wealth in combination with your investments?
You know, he did, not to the extent Chris did, but I think maybe because I was a younger widow 4 years ago, and he was trying to show me where my spending was. Maybe I could change things, and gave me some great advice on that. And but it's been almost zero communication in 4 years, maybe 3 times in 4 years. So
Yeah.
I personally need to make some changes, and I'd like to get my investments to a local place.
Well,
So
that's what I wanted to mention to you. Actually, perfect segue. I can't tell you how many times that I hear what you said about, hey, I had this advisor, he got this big promotion, or he quit, and then I get reassigned to this person that I have no synergy with. We have no chemistry. He's brand new, and I just don't feel comfortable. And then you give him a chance, you get comfortable, and then what happens next after a couple of years? They get the promotion or they quit, and so you're constantly getting reassigned. And here's the beautiful thing, it doesn't have to be that way. So I'm born and raised in Jacksonville. My parents are born and raised in Jacksonville. All my family's here. My business, I'm not going anywhere. So I'm only looking for lifelong relationships. Um, and so we have a lot of consistency and a lot of continuity when it comes to long relationships.
That's awesome. And I'm excited for you guys to meet in person. Holly and I had the pleasure of meeting with Elizabeth on Valentine's Day.
Nice.
We got together. She is a very dynamic individual, and so I'm happy that she's part of the group. And her and I are actually going to be doing this same dialogue regarding funeral planning. Okay. And Holly and I were on Valentine's Day at the funeral home. Where else would we be? Okay.
and
And
it wasn't a scary place, was it? I gave you the grand
Holly
tour.
did tear up one time. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But the other fun fact, Elizabeth, is when we're getting together, it's March 4th. And guess what day that is? My birthday.
Really? Okay, cool.
Like, this is hilarious. That's how I'm spending my birthday, talking about funeral planning, but I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it. So I want to open it up. Does anybody else have any questions? Because we've got Chris Morrison live in the flesh, wanting to get this information into your hands. Is there anybody that wants to chime in? Anything? We're good? We're good? Everybody's good? Okay. So Chris, you are the man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
I
having me.
feel very much educated prior to this call. I understand the difference between financial advisors, retirement planning. I understand your particular value, which is most important. And I look forward to, we're going to be taking this Zoom call, okay? With the pleasure of the assistance of our good friend ChatGPT. And we are going to be breaking down a summary of this in a way that we can present it at our next lunch meeting. So we can have some handouts of some of the basics that we went over today. And the goal would be is that at our next lunch meeting, the people that spoke in that month, we can give them a time to speak to the group and kind of like, these were the best practices. This is what we deep dived. This is what we figured out for all of those that couldn't be here, okay? And we'll figure out a way to get this recording out to people that couldn't be here. We understand, obviously, we're all out here hustling, doing our thing. So as we wrap up, I wanted to give a thank you to our sponsor, our lunch sponsor for February, Mr. Peter Gilman. He's on the call today and he's amazing. He provided lunch for us at our February luncheon. He does estate and trust taxes, so definitely connect with him. He's an amazing guy. Good time. These are new weekly meetings. It was launched in our last meeting in February. It will be happening Tuesday at 12 live on Zoom every single week. We will be featuring professionals from our group breaking down the live best practices, live Q&A. We're sitting in the first meeting. Congratulations to all of us. We popped the bottle of champagne together. Here we are, we're doing it. And we would invite you to invite other death care professionals, okay? Get other people in the room, because the more that we can, more people we can have speaking on these issues, and we can get a versatile understanding of what's happening in the right, what's happening in the left, not just what's happening in our own bowling alleys, okay? So thank you guys for being here and supporting us. These are the topics that we are going to be discussing over the next couple months here. So if you see your services on here, you're interested in being a speaker, partaking in a conversation like this, reach out to Holly, reach out to myself. Let's make sure that we get you on the board. And besides that, we're good to go. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you so much, Chris. It's been very educating and you made it so easy to understand.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks for
you,
having me.
Chris. Yes, thank you so much. Everyone else, have a great day. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
All right.
Thanks,
You got it.
Evelyn.
All right. Bye, Jason.